Welcome back. Hope you're having a good Monday morning. Well, we've listed down all the stocks and we've stated the news pieces on all these top 10 stocks. But let's get in Prakash Diban to help us out with some more fundamental analysis. Hi, Prakash. Good morning and good to see you in as always. Prakash, I wanted to ask you about the big listing that we'll be having in the next 90 minutes from now on. Bajaj Housing. What's your view on it? The grey market premium suggests that it could list at 4.5 to around 5 times price to book at least. What's your view on, on the stock? If someone got allotted, what should they do? And do you think it's a positive rub-off on other names as well?
Good morning, Nigel. So, it's quite a million-dollar question of sorts in terms of whether to continue holding. But that's the easier one. The tougher one is whether to buy after it gets listed. And my sense is, it's going to be a tightrope for most investors to figure out what's the elevated price to book multiples that you could live with. If it gets listed at the premium that the market's kind of indicating, or let's not go into that, but I'm saying anything above 5.5 starts getting into a little bit of a expensive territory. But given the momentum, liquidity-driven momentum, the fancy for quality names, Nigel, I wouldn't be surprised if there is momentum after the post-listing profit booking session is over. So you will have some momentum in this, which could last a week or whatever. But because long-term investors would want it in the portfolio, given the superior metrics that it has. So we'll of course evaluate it once it gets listed. But I would personally buy it at too elevated a price to book of 5.5, 6 beyond that. But profit booking is something which will definitely be very evident for different types of investors. There are different bands, different risk tolerance. On the rub-off effect, I think that's kind of done with. You'll probably not see much beyond that because all the money will go into Bajaj Housing itself rather than supporting some of the other names which have done very well in the last 2 weeks. But I would believe Bajaj will get that kind of a response, but with a little bit of a lag. So after a week or so, you'll see the momentum build up again. Till then, you'll probably have to just sit and wait out to see how the market gives it some realistic valuations.
Okay, all right. Let's see how this goes. The buzz is that straight away a doubler, at least at open. Prakash, hi, morning. Good to have you on. I remember, a couple of weeks back, I think it was a Friday, we were discussing sugar stocks and the move that they've now allowed cane again for, the production of ethanol. Now, over the weekend, they did expand that to E. And I remember we were having this discussion that extra neutral alcohol is a different variety. So now cane as well as B-heavy molasses can be used to produce ENA. Any thoughts? I mean, whether that could have any favorable rub-off on either sugar stocks or any of the distillery players, any of the listed alcohol plays that you would look at?
No, absolutely. Good morning, Subhi. No, I think when the announcement came for this relaxation coming in, and of course that was the first leg of the announcement towards relaxation, the sugar stocks just had a couple of good days. But if you evaluate those from a slightly medium-term perspective, and when I say medium-term, it's about a year, 18 months kind, you'll probably start seeing some of them are offering very good opportunities to get re-rated because the earnings growth will again get into a little bit of an accelerated phase. And if you stick to the larger ones, the smaller ones, of course, start smartening up when there is news flow. But without the news flow, if you were to look at and with ethanol giving that the wings to the plans in terms of the investment that they made, getting back the return ratios in place, you'll have an EID Parry or probably a Balrampur do very well. So I think it's as a sector, it's turning into a favorable zone and it could give you a very decent upside. And sugar cycles usually give you that 18, 24 month kind of a run. So I wouldn't be averse to adding more if I have, and if I don't, probably some allocation, maybe not, given that the sector is very small on the overall market cap, you probably add a bit of it to the portfolio. But EID Parry has a very well diversified portfolio. It's got products which are more FMCG, it's got sugar derivatives, of course, ethanol, and then the Coromandel holding that it has. So play safe, but do participate in the rally that's anticipated beyond it.
Prakash, we were reviewing trade from last week as well. And one thing is very clear that there is a bit of sector rotation that's playing out, and some of the erstwhile unloved sectors, they're getting the money now. For instance, consumer, FMCG. There's money going back in some of the banks as well. IT, of course, continues to do well. So you give us, one or two stocks, fresh ideas that you're still comfortable buying with the market at an all-time high.
So that's, I do agree some of these sectors have seen some revival of interest. I would focus largely on consumption. Very clearly, there is there is a underlying thesis that's working in their favor. That is that while their prices haven't moved, they've actually improved in terms of performance metrics. Whether it's the staples, whether it's discretionary. So let me leave you with a very well discovered name, but where the things are looking very positive, and that's United Spirits, Survi. Why I'm talking about United Spirits is that you can imagine in the last 2 quarters, the current one and the previous one, whatever I've seen on the ground, these are dull quarters, whereas the good quarters are yet to come. And they've been able to do so much of rationalization in the distribution network, which leaves them with very, very decent margins. Premiumization is already in place. So I don't see any reason why a Radico Khaitan and a United Spirits won't do well. In fact, that's the pocket of consumption that probably will see a very, very significant re-rating. So good earnings, good growth guidance from both of them. But I believe United Spirits is the one which in the next 3 years could probably surprise all of us on the upside in a major way.
I just want to quickly highlight, just check the rates on some of these stocks. So let's look at IIFL Limited. That went up sharply in the last 30-40 minutes of trade on Friday. I think it ended about 10% higher. I don't know if there is any follow-through this morning on your screen. So IIFL Limited, the NBFC, not the broking company. So we'll put that up. We'll look at Edelweiss, which was locked up on upper circuit, 10% on Friday, but from the word go. And it ended up 10% higher. It's up another 6% this morning, 6.5% in the pre-open, and decent-sized volumes for this point in the day. And of course, these jewelers all went berserk. Not just this last Friday, but through the course of the last 5 days, right? Tribhuvan Das was up 20%, TBZ that is. There was Senco, which went up sharply, and Tangamail participated as well. So these were some of the other names which we discussed quite a bit last week and on Friday as well. So it's got momentum, certainly got momentum. Prakash, out of these names, jewelers, I think we've spoken, but any of these names from the financials, IIFL, Edelweiss, any thoughts at all?
So I think Edelweiss definitely seems to be like a value play at work in that sense. After they've had the demerger, some of the core businesses that they sit on could still fetch a lot of value, which I don't think the market's kind of attributed yet to the stock. So at this 130, 135 odd, you probably have a very decent optionality that could play out. But, I would still focus on the jewelers where TBC and all seem to be still, from a longer term perspective. I don't know what happens today or this week, but the re-rating seems to be valid. And that could, it's part of consumption, which Sudhir was talking about from that perspective. And the festive season could actually be one of the best that they look ahead. So I would look at some of these select names, but be picky still, Prashant. While the sectors are getting rotated, new sectors are coming to the fore, you still have to have a very clear bottom-up eye on most of these to really make money.
Okay. All right, Prakash, thanks very much for all the inputs this morning. Appreciate you being with us. You have a good day.